Hey everybody, Kevin here. Thank you guys for joining me on Kevin's Way Works. So behind me here I have a 2016 Chevrolet Malibu with the 2.0 liter engine, and this guy is in desperate need of an oil change. So stay tuned and I'll show you how to do this Kevin's way. Alright, let's check our mileage. $58,619 miles. All right, so the first thing we're going to do here is get this guy up onto the ramps. So I have a set of the original rental ramps, so let's get these into position. There's that one. Let's get the other guy in position. There's that one. All right, let's get this pulled up on there. Guys, I tell you what, the brakes are really touchy in this thing, and they aren't supposed to be like that. So I think we're gonna have to do another video to take a look at the brakes and find out why they're so touchy like that. All right, guys, that's on the ramps. I have the parking brake set, and you can also, if you want to, you can put some type of chocks behind the wheels so it doesn't have any chance of rolling. So let's go ahead and get to this. Okay, guys, I hope you can see that okay. I'm gonna grab my oil drain pan here and place it right about there. This guy points kind of almost straight down. It's a little bit of an angle. You gotta be careful. Some of them, if they're pointing straight out, it'll shoot all over the place. It'll shoot down into your catch pan and it'll just skirt right up over the edge onto the ground. In this case, it should just fall down there pretty gently. So the first thing we have to do is remove this drain pan bolt. And that guy is 15 millimeters. So I have myself a 15 millimeter socket and my ratchet, and let's go ahead and get this thing removed. All right, I'm going to back this out. And there we go. So let's go ahead and let that drain for a bit. Might need to adjust it, make sure it's in the center. And also make sure once it stops draining or is almost done draining that you're still lined up to where you don't get it all over the floor. This engine holds 5 quarts, so make sure you get yourself a bucket that holds at least that much. Preferably several quarts more so you don't get it so close to the edge that you can't dump it back out into a container. Alright guys, now that it has slowed to just some drips, I'm going to go ahead and reinstall the drain pan plug. So I've got that right here, so let's go ahead and get that reinstalled. There we go. Go ahead and wipe off the drippy drips. Alright, so the torque spec on this is 18 foot-pounds. So I have my torque wrench, and I don't know if you'll be able to see this or not, but that is set to 18 foot-pounds. So I have my 15 millimeter socket. Let's go ahead and get that torque to spec. And that's it. No tighter than that. All right, guys, next thing that needs to happen is we need to take the oil filter off. So let's get you positioned so you have a better shot of that. Now, there's obviously going to be some oil in here, so I'm just going to grab my pan. I'm going to slowly slide it up so I don't spill any of the oil in it. I'm going to set it right about so the oil filter is centered with the pan. So you can use all sorts of things to remove these. I mean, you can try to do it by hand, but most likely it's on there too tight, you won't be able to spin it. But I like to use the rubber strap wrenches. So let's go ahead and get this guy on there, and we'll get this filter off. So I like to get it all the way to the top. Give the strap a little pull to make it tight, and go ahead and just give it a push. All right, we have that backed out far enough to where we can get it off with our hand. It was a little hard to do with that strap wrench because this bar is in the way, So it may have been easier to use one of those little cups that go on the end, and then you can use a ratchet to get it off. But we got it, no problem. So let's go ahead and just turn this off until the oil starts flowing. We'll let the oil drain out, and then we'll fully remove it. So just get it out far enough to where there's a gap, and that'll let any oil that's sitting up in there drain out. Don't go too far. You might end up letting it drop out into the oil and splash everywhere. And you don't want that mess on your hands. I always keep napkins or shop towels nearby. Just a whole bunch of them, because you never know how many you are going to need. So let's let that drain, and as soon as it slows to a drip, we'll take it off the rest of the way. All right, now that that's dripping, let's grab ourselves a paper towel. And I'm just gonna grab the end of it with the paper towel just so we don't make, ooh, gotta be careful. I almost lost that one. Holy cow. That would have been a mess. I'm gonna take this over to another container where I have all my other filters ready for recycling. All right, I'm back. Let's go ahead and get this cleaned up. Check the surface, make sure that the O-ring did not stick to it. In our case, this is clear. I don't know if you have a good view of the actual surface up here. It's kind of hard for me to get the camera up there at that angle. But let me go ahead and show you. So right there is what I'm talking about. Make sure that ring on the outside does not have an O-ring stuck to it from the old oil filter. So what we're going to do now is install the new oil filter. Let me get you guys back over here. Can you still see? You can still see. Excellent. Okay. So I normally use an AC Delco PF64, but for some reason there's a section on the shelf, but it's like always empty. And I just got tired of trying to go find one, so I went and grabbed a Mobile 1. And this one is an M1114A. And this is the correct filter for this car. So this one actually has a little protective plastic on it here. Let's see if we can get this thing off. I'm not really sure of the purpose. So I'm going to take a little dab of oil from this used oil here. And I'm just going to gently put a little bit around the outside on that rubber gasket. I'm going to go ahead and wash my finger off real quick. Probably should have used my other hand instead of my right hand because I needed it clean so I can spin this on. And on the side here, it usually tells you how many times to turn it. So you just turn it until it touches, and then try to get 3/4 of a turn to a full turn. It's really hard to do, especially when you got a little bit of oil on your hand now. But do your best to get it to what it says on the can there. So 3/4 of a turn to 1 full turn is what you need. Don't go any more than that, or else you'll have a really hard time getting it off when you go to do the next oil change. All right, guys, we're done underneath. Let's go ahead and put some new oil in it. So you can either use a simple funnel like this, or if you want, you can get fancy and use one of these. I'm not going to use this because this engine holds exactly 5 quarts, and I have a 5-quart container of oil. So let's go ahead and just dump that oil in using a funnel. All right, remove your filler cap. Set that aside so you won't lose it. And a tip from the pros, helps them make sure they didn't forget to put oil in the engine, is to take the dipstick out and set it across the front of the car, kind of around where the locking mechanism is. And that's kind of a reminder to tell you that you forgot to put the oil in. I'm not going to be concerned about that because I'm going to have an empty jug of oil that I have to put the used oil into. I'm going to know if I didn't put the oil in it. So anyway, not a big deal for me, but a pro tip anyway. All right, guys, take your funnel, drop it in the hole. I'm going to use the Mobile 1 5W30 Extended Performance. It's the same price as all the others, whether they're high mileage, regular, extended. So I figured this has a little bit more additives in it that helps it to last longer. So same price, I'm going to use this instead. All right, let's go ahead and open up the oil. And this has the little aluminum seal on there. And I just take an old razor blade. Don't let it fall inside. Just go about that far and pull it off. Now take your oil, kind of hold it at an angle like this. That way the highest point is the hole. And then just rotate it until it starts pouring out. Don't go ahead and go crazy with it. Just pour it nice and slow. No need to go crazy fast. Nice and slow. Some engines, if you go too fast, it can actually get into other ports. And you can get oil down into your air box and other locations where you don't want it to go. So I don't think that's the case with this engine, but we'll still go nice and slow. There's always the potential you go too fast and it overflows and comes out around between the engine and the funnel. All right, since this is a brand new jug of oil, we know that it's 5 quarts. If for some reason you don't have a 5-quart jug and you have a partial jug, or you're using one of those boxes of oil, then using one of those special funnels will help you out a lot. And that's it. Take yourself a little rag. Keep any oil from dripping out of that funnel. Take your oil filler cap. It can only go on one direction. So just turn it until it feels like it drops in. If it's the other way, the notches can't line up and it can't go in. So it'll only go one way on this engine. So drop it in and just turn it like so. And it will always be facing to where the lettering can be read properly. All right, next thing we want to do is take our dipstick. I like to pull it out, make sure it's all clean. We want to make sure when we fill this that our oil is within those markings right here. So now that this is clean, I go ahead and put it back in. Pull it back out and take a look. And it looks like we are right in the center of those markings, maybe just a little bit above that center dot. So we are good and full. Put her back in. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Look at that. Broken O-ring. Let me go see if I have a replacement. I'll be right back. Let me go ahead and take the broken one. See what I can find. All right, it's probably going to be hard to see on my black glove, but I have a little O-ring there that's about the same size as the original one, and it's rated for oil contact. So let's go ahead and just wipe this down again. Let's take our O-ring, slide it on there. This one's a little smaller in diameter than the other one, so let's go ahead and see if we can get it on there at least. It's not the exact size, but it's the closest I could find that I think will work pretty good. So I got that on there. Let's go ahead and see if it fits. Perfect. Perfect. That'll work just nicely. It has 2 O-rings anyway, and the other one was good, so I think we're good to go. All right, next step, let's take the oil from that drain pan and let's put it in the oil jug that's now empty. All right, next thing we're going to do is get that pan of used oil out, and we're going to pour it into the container that the new oil came out of. All right, what I have right there is a second pan, and I'm going to take that oil container and just place it in that pan. And that way, as we're pouring oil, if any spills, it should go into that pan. So I'm going to take a big funnel like this, and we're just going to place it in there like so. Move you up just a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. And we know we only have 5 quarts, so there's no way that we can overfill this unless somebody put more oil in the engine than it was supposed to have originally. But what I like to do anyway, just in case, is on this oil jug, there's a clear line right here, so I can watch it as it fills up. If I think it's going to overfill, I just grab another jug and I fill it into that too. You just got to be careful as you're doing this. As you're picking it up, it likes to bend. You just want to make sure you're not going to pour it over the edge. And another thing is, as you are pouring it in, the oil likes to grip onto the container and run down the back edge. And so you want to make sure you're not pouring any on the ground. So you may want to move this back this way a little bit, like so. And then I'm going to aim for this area here as I'm dumping it out. That way, if any does roll down, it should still fall into that funnel. So let's give it a shot. Slowly pour it in. Now, I typically like to use one of those containers where it actually has a storage area inside of it. But right now I have a whole bunch of filters on mine and it's partially filled up, so we're going to do it this way. And there you go. So take your funnel out, I'll just drop it in that container and I'm going to go set it over with my other oil supplies. I lost the lid. Seriously? There it is. Alrighty, let's put the lid on this guy. And we can check our fill. So the line's right about there, and that's about probably about 4 3/4 quarts. So it was about a 1/4 quart lower than what should have been, which is perfectly acceptable. So I'm going to just go put that in my used oil area, and I'll take it to the local recycling center for disposal. Next thing we need to do is clean up our mess. And be sure you properly dispose of your used oily rags and towels. All right, guys, let's get this thing started up. All right, now that we're done, we can go ahead and close this hood. Nothing else we need to do. If you want to, you can check the oil level again now that we ran the engine for a little bit. It's not going to go down any noticeable amount. So as long as it was where it was supposed to be, after you filled it, you're good to go. So it's really easy to close the hood. We just grab our bar, lift up a little bit, gently release the bar from the hole, set it down, snap it in place, make sure your hood's closed. So as you can see, it's closed. If it wasn't closed, it'd be sticking up just a little bit. But as you can see right here, it is properly closed. All right, everybody, just a couple of steps left to do. And the first is to get this guy off those ramps. So let's go ahead and back it down. Let's go ahead and get those ramps back in their home. And finally, let's get this oil life monitor reset. So let's start the vehicle. And as you can see right there, we have our change engine oil soon message, and we have a tire monitor system message. We're going to take care of that tire monitor system message in another video. So let's just dismiss both of those, and let's reset this oil indicator. Okay, so to reset the oil indicator, we're going to use this little pad right here. And right now we're on 0 miles an hour, which is where I usually keep these. And you just want to cycle up or down until you see your oil life message. And so right there is the oil life remaining, 0%. And on your little button pad, press your right button, and you'll see the reset. Press the center button. And now it says, are you sure you want to reset? Yes or no? And we're going to use that same pad. We're going to press the right button until it highlights yes. And then we are going to press the check button. So let's go ahead and press that. And we are now at 100% remaining. So that is it. Oil life is reset. Oil has been changed. The Malibu is now happy. Except for that little issue right there. We'll get that fixed though. And that is how you change the oil in a 2016 Chevrolet Malibu with a 2.0 liter turbo engine. And I hope that helps you guys with your oil change. And if this was helpful, it would be awesome if you could give this a like and if you could subscribe. And thank you guys for watching. Kevin's Way Works. Uh-oh.